Flora.
Here.
Coos.
Here.
Kiefer.
Here.
Zingy.
Here.
Isom.
Yes.
Gage.
Here.
Severson.
Here.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, that brings us down to communications. I don't have much on the cable. Brings us persons to be heard. Joe, did you want to do something, Mr. White, or Chief?
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, Joe White, Chief of Police. Take just a few minutes to introduce you to our brand new lieutenant of the police department. Day 2 for Andrew. We had a selection process with 4 internal applicants, and Andy was the unanimous choice of the panel, and he accepted. He's been with our department since 2001. He has been a patrol sergeant, a drug investigation sergeant, a drug officer, a homicide detective, an FTO, a bike officer. I'm sure I'm missing some things, but he's got a lot of experience. He brings a lot to the table, so we're very excited to have him. I just wanted to introduce him.
Thanks, Joe. Andrew, do you want to say anything?
I'm kidding. This is going to be your chance to take a shot, but you don't.
He's your personal detail.
We're talking about the Shamrock Show.
That's before it's time. No, it's going to be very different for me. It's a big step for me. I'm pretty excited about it. It's a very different type of police work. At this point, we're too busy for me to really notice because I'm still doing my old job and actually my job before that too. So it's been busy. It's been fun. I'm excited, and I feel like we're just getting going. So thanks for having me.
Congratulations. Thanks, Joe. All right, Kathleen.
Hello, my name is Kathleen Light. I'm the director of the Arts Council. I live at 410 Cedar. Haven't been here for a long time, so it's nice to see all of your smiling faces here today in one fell swoop. Just a few updates. First of all, I want to just mention Music on the Dock has been awesome this year. We've been going strong since Memorial Day, and we're going to go all the way through August 16th. We've had local musicians performing on Mondays and Thursdays and a few Wednesdays sprinkled in, and we have had great reception from the visitors. Lots of dancing in the streets. On Wednesday, the dancers actually the buses had to wait for the dancers because they were dancing in the street, and it was really fun. So we've been having a blast with Music on the Dock. So congratulations to the city of Ketchikan. This has been a really awesome program that you've put together, and it's really benefiting the musicians of Ketchikan. I don't know if you've noticed, but there is music everywhere around town at night, and our musicians around town have been able to up their game because of they've been able to perform more. So good on you. Thank you so much for a great program with Music on the Dock. In case you didn't notice, the Blueberry Arts Festival is coming up tomorrow, and first of all, I want to give some really huge thank yous. The Arts Council puts it together, but we cannot do it alone. The city of Ketchikan is an extraordinary partner with the Arts Council, so I want to thank the manager's office for getting everybody organized. KPU Telecommunications. 2 reasons. They film Blueberry every year, and then they put it on the channel, and so we get to see Blueberry every year and all of the fun events, which I think is pretty cool for community members that don't get to come to the Blueberry Arts Festival, but you also get to sort of see a timeline of what happens throughout Blueberry over the years. So thank you to them for filming it, but also for sponsoring the main stage. And the main stage is another place where Ketchikan musicians get to perform. We provide a space for young musicians and adult musicians, and they are we have a professional sound person helping them, which you don't get all the time as a musician. So the experience is extraordinary. We thank KPU Telecommunications. I want to thank the police department. They do an awesome job for us stopping everybody for the Pet and Doll Parade, and they make it really fun for those kids to do that little tiny parade. They go to the fire station. I want to thank the fire department. They host the Pet and Doll Parade. All those kids jam into the garage, and they have cookies, and they probably spill punch on the fire trucks and climb over everything. And it's a great time for all those kids that participate. KPU Electric, they make sure all those vendors have electricity, and they are on it every year. Public Works, the solid waste department, the street department, they get the dumpsters out there. They shut the streets down for us. They bring pylons for us. They are awesome. So I would just want to thank everybody for making that happen at the city. So it starts tomorrow. 2 p.m. is the Pet and Doll Parade. It starts right outside at the police department, heads right down Main Street to Tongass, takes a left to the fire department. The entire 10 minutes of the parade is the cutest parade ever in the history of the universe. So if you can make it, I highly encourage you. Right after that is the best blueberry dish. So if any of you happen to be culinary artists, I encourage you to bring a dish to the gallery. It has to be there before 3 p.m. And they win fabulous prizes. At 5 p.m., the gallery exhibit, the Blueberry Arts Festival art exhibit, opens. And we have about 35 artists showing this year with about 60 pieces. I might say this every year, but I think this is the best blueberry exhibit ever. It is a glorious exhibit, and all sorts of different mediums, really high quality artwork. I highly encourage you to come and check it out. If you come Friday night, you get to enjoy the best blueberry dishes. So that's pretty awesome. You get to eat delicious food as well. And of course, the Giggle Feet Dance Festival is both Friday and Saturday. And that festival is put together by the three arts organizations in Ketchikan, the Arts Council, First City Players, and Ketchikan Theater Ballet. We work together to put on the fully staged dance production. This is the only chance for choreographers in town to get a chance to put dances on dancers. For adult dancers who aren't associated with KTB, they get to dance on a fully produced dance production. So that means they get lighting, they get sound, they get staging. We put down a Marley floor for them. This is their chance. This doesn't happen in a lot of communities where community members can get up on a stage and dance. Saturday we have about 160 booths. Our goal in life is to get them to come all the way down Main Street, all the way to Dock. We're not quite there. We are coming down the road past the Redmond. We're getting kind of close to the Redmond, so this is really exciting. 160 booths. We have a couple of community activities. Ketchikan Random Acts of Art, which is a Facebook group. We've partnered with them. They're going to do a community project right here in the Macaw lot, and they're going to have materials and stuff for people to work on, and then you can go hide art all around the community, take pictures of it, and put it on Facebook. So I think this is a really fun collaboration with them. Also, we're going to be working with the Courageous Conversations group. They're going to put up several walls of, it's called Before I Die, I Want To. And so these walls have that statement and then a line after it. And so these are, this is a project that's been going around the country, around the world for several years now. And the Courageous Conversations group is bringing it to Ketchikan. It's a very powerful project. When you put a statement up like that, before I die, I want to travel. Before I die, I want to make peace with my parents. Before, something like that. These are very powerful statements that people can make. And so we're really excited to partner with them. After Blueberry, they're going to take the walls to 3 different locations. One of them will go to the library, one of them will go to Creek Street Cabaret, and then the third, I cannot remember where they're going, but it's going to a third place. We have lots of music happening on Saturday. Another collaboration we're really excited about, we're going to be able to do the shuttle again this year. So it's a free Blueberry shuttle. We're working with KIC and the Borough Transit Department, and that bus is going to go from the plaza to the Eagle, to Community Connections, to the museum, and then up to Grant and Main at Blueberry. So it's a free shuttle. It can take accessibles if you need accessibility. It can take wheelchairs. So we are really excited to partner with them again. It's going to run every half hour, start at the Plaza at 10:30. So we want to thank the Plaza and Community Connections for allowing us to have that bus go through, and hopefully everybody can get to the Blueberry Arts Festival. Sunday, it doesn't stop until Sunday. Sunday is the handmade human-powered blueberry boat race, and that's down at Thomas Basin, and we're really excited about that. We're in our 4th year. It was fashioned after the Race to Alaska, kinda. And so our first prize is really awesome, but our second prize is 1 steak knife, so it'll be fun. Lastly, we didn't have enough for the whole set. And then after that is the Poetry Slam, which is happening at the New York Cafe. And then we finish up the weekend with the Giggle Feet Dance Festival again Sunday evening. So it's a giant weekend. We hope you can take part in almost all of that. I also gave you our new season brochure, just out. It's in mailboxes now, so please take a look at it. This is what we're up to for the next year. We have a great season. We're really excited about it. Lastly, I would like to introduce our new program director. We are so pleased to welcome Shelley Hill to the Ketchikan Area Arts and Humanities Council as our program director. Shelley's from Tennessee. She has a degree in kinesiology. The study of the human body, how it moves. So it's very cool. And so this is really interesting. And then she owns her own business. She creates and sells natural botanicals. She came to Ketchikan as a seasonal, and she's been coming for about 1.5 years, decided she wants to stay, and we are really excited to have her. Last year, she won the best blueberry dish. Yeah. So, all right, she's already involved, and please help me welcome Shelley to the Arts Council. Thank you. Do you have any questions?
Any questions for Kevin? Thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Ed, you're next.
We're going to have some fun tonight, folks.
All right.
We got your water report here, and, this is what you should have sent to citizens. I gave you this a few months back and asked you to do a sediment sample and a water sample of the lakes one more time. You got to ask yourself why we got barium, beryllium, cadmium, chromium, nickel, selenium, ptilium in our water, in our drinking water. Why haven't you notified the citizens of this? That's what I want to know. Second of all, where it's coming from is not the city's fault. It has nothing to do with mines in the area. It has to do with the very same thing you put in the paper today. These chemtrails fly through the skies, open it up, and with their spraying, you can look under geoengineering, under Facebook, you look up geoengineering, under any of it, geobioengineering, and that's what's causing all these chemicals in the air that they're making weather modification on. And you need to be very aware of this. But, Mr. Mayor, I'm going to ask you one more last time, because I'm going to file a lawsuit pretty soon. I asked you 4 or 5 times now to do a sediment sample on the lakes and a water sample. I please wish you would do that for me. And let the citizens know the truth, okay?
Thank you, Ed.
And I'm going to leave a couple copies of this right down here so people can see the truth and where it's coming from with laboratory and where the water is. And it's from here. We used to have the most pristine waters in the world right here. Now they're trashed. This is disgusting. We need to investigate this, please. Thank you, people.
Thanks, Ed.
There's copies if anybody wants it.
Next is Rick Thomas.
Rick Thomas, 245 Heckman. I'm going to be a little briefer than I was last time about Eagle Point there. To put it frankly, when I look at this problem we're having here, or at least being accused of, this really is a dispute between neighbors. I mean, I don't think this rises to the level of drafting an ordinance to ban, feeding the eagles. If we put an ordinance in place to ban feeding the eagles in the town, you're talking about all the people out fishing, lodges, you got fish processing plants that this is going to affect if we say, well, you can't throw stuff out there for the eagles. Now, I've been kind of looking at the ordinance that Homer adopted. It's like comparing an atomic bomb to a firecracker in the sense that this person, the lady up there, she was putting up 500 pounds of food a day and attracting 200 to 300 eagles. You know, we're putting 20 to 40 herring out a day. There's a big difference, big disparity there as far as that goes. She was also around an airport. They brought in crows, all sorts of vermin as well in there. That was one of the main reasons why they did this. And even though they passed the ordinance, they gave her a 4-year exemption, even after it was passed, to continue feeding the eagles. I found that interesting on this. But anyway, I just implore you guys not to put some kind of ordinance in place that can affect so many different people. And that's about all I have to say this time.
Any questions for Rick? I got a couple.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
So prior to this coming to the city council, you said this is a problem between neighbors. So what steps did you take to address your neighbors' concerns before they came to us?
When I got a call from not Brad, but Clyde, we used to throw, about a dozen herring out per tour. So I dropped it down to 4 herring per tour to try to resolve that. I don't think it's going to matter if we throw 1 herring out. They just do not want us throwing herring out to these eagles to attract them there. You know, and like I said before in my last statement, I didn't go into this lightly. You know, I did my homework even before I bought the property. You know, I did my due diligence to make sure that this is something that was legal locally, state, and federally. You know, and so I went ahead and I spent a lot of money. And I don't have this money. The banks own me basically for my house and this property down there. And I tried to come up with something that was unique and different, and I did. You know, my travel agents love it. You know, like I told you before, lots of pre-books this year, several thousand more people to go through the property on that. But as far as addressing the situation, I dropped the herring down to 4. It really hasn't been a problem in the last few weeks anyway. There's been no eagles down there. The natural progression this time of year is they're going out to the rivers, streams, canneries. You know, I bet you since the last council meeting when I talked to you guys, we've thrown out maybe 40 herring the whole time. You know, a day's or two's worth, I mean, in the whole time. Because there really hasn't been eagles out there. They're just gone. They're out in the rivers in different places right now.
One other question, Your Honor.
You bet.
I wasn't here at the last regular meeting. But
Sure.
I saw while I was away that Mr. Robertus, the Director of Operations at PAC Air, had sent the council a letter regarding aircraft safety.
Mhm.
And that he has concerns that it's...
I was wondering what airline actually said, because I've talked to a lot of the airlines and nobody
Okay.
said.
Okay.
So that's who it was PAC Air. Interesting.
PAC Air, and his concern that the damage could be catastrophic and may lead to aircraft crashing. So how would you address that
Okay.
concern from there?
Well,
taxi?
Yeah, I've talked to several airlines around here. None of them, thought that'd be a problem. I mean, we're inside a breakwater. Okay, they literally have to hit the point for an eagle to go out there. You know, I mean, the eagles come in from this way, from the canneries over this way. They're not coming across from Gravina. I mean, there might be a few, but look at the canneries out there. And when you have 100, 200 eagles out there going this, circles, out there in the path of the airplanes. Look at the seagulls out at Wolf Point. I mean, people are throwing fries to them all the time. There's 1,500 seagulls. They're flying out by Taquan area there. There's a lot more risk of a seagull or a bird hitting a plane there than there is inside a harbor where there's always been eagles, by the way. Before the point was there, there's always been crazy amounts of eagles on the breakwater. You know, like I said, this is a few people that are upset about eagles being fed, but like I said, these eagles have always been there. Seagulls have always been there. Pigeons have always been there. You know, and like I said, if you pass an ordinance for eagles, what's next? Are we going to pass an ordinance you can't feed, seagulls? because they might, same thing, fly into a plane type thing. You know, you got go by McDonald's in the morning time. I'll stop off for my coffee, and there'll be 80 pigeons by the road by the light, because people throw the seed out there. What's to stop a pigeon from flying out to the traffic and bam, car, and somebody hits somebody? You know, I guess the point I'm trying to get to is, you know, I just don't see. I mean, I can understand. There's definitely a risk, but has it ever happened? I mean, these eagles have always been there. You know, I can show you YouTube from 2003 where they're flying off there because there was a big dump at the cannery, and there's 60, 70 eagles flying out there. You know, it's not. They're not just there because, I mean, it's a unique thing that I'm throwing a few herring. You know, I mean, we're lucky to have 20 to 30 eagles there at a time, and at peak time. Right now, we're lucky to have any. Yeah.
Thank you.
You bet.
Anybody else?
Any other questions?
Thanks, Rick.
You bet. Thank you.
Ken?
Thank you all for listening to me one more time. I plan on being a part of this community forever. Okay, my job depends on Rick. Rick's a good buddy of mine. I met him years ago. I moved up here. I am a Tlingit native. Okay, so this whole eagle thing, to me, is a farce in many, many ways. And there's so much more stuff that this city council should really be looking for and trying to help. The drug problems, the homeless problems, the ship. Put it this way, if the cruise ships were feeding the eagles, would this council vote for or against them? That's a huge point, truly. Okay, because they bring tons of money in. They run this town, all right? We all know that, okay? So we need to step up and take our town back. Are these guys out there at that building, and I'm not going to name it, but you guys all know it, are they testing the poop? Is it eagle poop? Is it pigeon poop? Is it crow poop? Is it raven poop? Let's be realistic, okay? They don't like tourism. We bought that building, Rick did, and Martha, to, again, help this town. Locally raised and owned companies supporting not only the economy here, but people of this town. It's ridiculous not to make that just, you guys in your time is very, very important. Okay, and I think it should be better spent on things that need to be done, not on, again, property owner disputes. I have a whole bunch of notes here, okay, a whole bunch of different things. And I'm also interrupted a tourist on her vacation here, okay? And this gal came in tonight, left her dinner while she's in town to come here and talk about also the water equality. She works for the U.S. Department of Interior, Bureau of Reclamation. She's a water quality specialist. Should we not be thinking really of that more than a few herring being fed to eagles? These eagles were here long before that building was. Okay? Long before we were. Okay, now the gentleman in the newspaper, the article today was absolutely cracked me up. I actually had to, it's almost like Chico's Mexican Restaurant, the best pizza in town. Him saying these eagles have never been here like this. Well, you know what? Once they pulled them off the endangered species list, what happened? They made a comeback because the DDT stopped. Okay? Pointing out, again, the canneries, everything else, McDonald's, all that stuff. You guys get all that. You know all that. So to make a city ordinance on something of this nature is absolutely crazy. I truly think so. Again, I'm a fairly well-educated man in common sense. Okay, give you proof of that. I invented a product, hand-built it, 12 of them, Christmas 2004. Took it to patent, copyright, manufacturing, sold over 35,000 of them in 1 year. Okay, so I get business, and I get that. Okay, again, the Eagles never been there before. Quick notes. Again, if the cruise ships did this, again, and we just said the Pledge of Allegiance here, justice for all. That's all of us. Okay, so, and I understand, Mr. Mayor, you had a problem with ravens in the past. We all have problems, from rodents to ants to whatever. Okay, these eagles, again, I am a guy who throws them. I educate the people on their lifespans, their mating rituals, everything else. Does anyone here know how an eagle finds its mate? Okay, that's what I tell these guests that are coming in. I have those people from that building using the F-bomb multiple times with people on tours going, don't feed the eagles, blah, 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 blah. Now, that's harassment. If we're going to have the cops out there patrolling us, for me, a Tlingit native, and I could probably do it and throw herring and not get in trouble because I'm native. If you look at the story of Eagle Boy and those type of things, and if you guys read up on that, Eagle Boy fed the eagles when the eagles needed food. And that's the only time that we're really doing it, between the herring and salmon runs. Again, I have fed one eagle, since the last meeting. And that's because they haven't been there. Again, they are naturally going to migrate to the rivers. It just makes sense. Anybody who knows about them knows that. Okay? Because Gina left her dinner to come here, she didn't get a sign in. But I'd like her to bring up and also address the water quality. I gave her a copy of it. She's been reading it since we've been here. That's one thing that we immediately started talking about yesterday. Again, the water quality. She's known the bloom. She'll do a brief little thing on what her take is on it. Again, her title, Gina Hoff, Water Quality Specialist, Columbia Basin Project, the Ephrata Fields Office. Again, she's up here on a vacation, and she's willing to come to this meeting to talk about that. So, with no further ado, again, thank you for your time and your patience with me. Again, this time a little more together. Again, I did fishing on TV for 8 years, so talking to the camera, talking to people, being a tour guide, not a problem. But I get heated over something so, truly so small and so much energy that all of you are putting into this. It just cracks me up. It really does. So, Gina, if I could have you come up for just a moment, please. Again, ladies and gentlemen, Gina Hoff.
Hi there. Is this your drinking water?
I'm not sure what the document is. We're heavily monitored by the state and feds, and they keep on us profusely. They almost have us.
I just saw this when I walked in.
I have no idea what
I don't know if I'm going to drink your water anymore.
What's your last name again, Gene?
Hoff, H-O-F-F. So I have family that lives here. I'm now a property owner over on Pennock Island, and what I see is concerning. So we have these same algae blooms and some similar stuff like this down in Washington State. Those algae blooms you have out there are caused from what you guys don't see a lot is your high temperatures, your UV, your water temperatures, which are going up due to your UV, and then the cause of that is, and it doesn't have to be a lot, but it's nutrients. So if they're dumping out there, that makes sense. But I was wondering when I came in how they could get that amount of nutrients in such a big bay and cause an algae bloom like that. When this gentleman told me there's possibly dumping of your ships, that totally made sense to me because the ammonia and the chemicals in the wastewater will definitely cause that for you. If they're doing that, I would seriously ask you to see if they can stop. If that is not the issue, you do have a nutrient problem coming from somewhere that is causing your algae bloom that you should probably be looking into. These algae blooms, just so you're aware, can go toxic. And when I say toxic, we're talking neurotoxins and anatoxins and saxitoxins. These are all deadly. You take one drink, it doesn't kill just humans, it kills animals too. And it only takes one sip. And if you're out there swimming or just having fun, one little tiny sip can kill you. So I just wanted to let you know about what you've got going on in your bay out there. I've never seen it before, and all I can contribute it to is your high temperatures. I've never seen Ketchikan this hot either. So
it happened a couple of years ago too. We got a little hot.
Did you?
Yeah, we don't see it often.
Yeah, no, not a lot of hot weather, but thank you for listening to me.
Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
You bet. All right, I have. Martha, did I call you? I'm sorry.
No, I'm ready.
Come on up.
Okay. Hi, guys, again. Hi. There we go. Okay. Thank you, City Council, for having me today. Can you hear me?
You bet.
Okay, so perfect. So we're going to be talking about regarding eagles. First of all, for people that are laymen, what is the definition of an ordinance? Anybody? What is an ordinance? Nobody? Okay. Who does it affect? What is the fine of an ordinance? How do people find out about local, city, and Bureau ordinances, and are they listed somewhere? If you decide to choose these ordinances on a daily basis, am I breaking the law or breaking an ordinance? What is the cost to the taxpayer to generate an ordinance? There's got to be a cost. So, let's go on. And I want to thank those. I've invited everybody on the City Council to our building to see exactly what's going on, and only a few have chosen to come. Again, you guys are all invited to see what's going on and what effect this is causing. So, in regards to the City of Homer, the ordinance 06-01A, intentional feeding or baiting of certain predators or scavenger birds, eagles, ravens, crows, and gulls. This is the ordinance that was brought up in the City of Homer. So ravens, as discussed by Mayor Lou Williams last meeting, he discussed how he has more ravens at his house because of the concession stands. So could he have started an ordinance banning concessions near a ball field? How do you think the parents of the leagues would feel that they have to pay 4 to 5 times the money to play sports because of the loss of revenue that the concession stands make? So if this ordinance passes, does this mean the small child that throws down a fry to the cute little blackbird or the raven is subject to a $300 fine for littering because of the new ordinance? What lasting impression would that have on that child when the police officer comes and hands him a $300 ticket? So, seagulls. At the store near Safeway and McDonald's, when someone throws fries bread to the seagulls, pigeons, and eagles, is that littering, or are they subject to a $300 litter fine? Are the big garbage bins that are located near the stores at fault for some of the litter and subject to a $300 fine? Because the birds are getting into the garbage, you know, who's liable for that? At Wolf Point, across from the airport, there are birds that are there all the time, and they're in the flight paths of the big commercial airlines and also on the private airlines. Are the people that sit there and throw food to the eagles, pigeons, ravens, seagulls, and small birds subject to a $300 fine for littering? When you're cleaning your fish at Bar Harbor, on the bridge, or anywhere in Ketchikan and throw the carcass in the water, are you subject to a $300 fine? Or is the fine larger because the seal's going to eat it, and that's against the federal law? I want you all to drive down Tongass Highway between McDonald's and Dock 4. Look at the water side. There are many airlines, hotels, canneries, and birds that rely on the fish and guts for food, and they've been cohabitating for years. The property owners have not complained or want to start an ordinance against those businesses that provide a service and hire and feed many families around the world. The whole thing has been brought to your attention because we chose to throw a few herring for the eagles on private property. We're not located near flight paths because we're surrounded by buildings. A couple of nearby residents decided they don't agree and complained. Now you see what a snowball effect this may cause. So, I'm going to show you. This is, can you pass these around, please? So as you can see, on the light post, we have an eagle, we have a raven, and we have a seagull. Here you go. And if you look near there's other people that haven't complained. So, you know, now the only place in Alaska that started an ordinance was due to a woman feeding, again, 200 to 500 pounds of food in the dead of winter because she worried about the eagles, that they would die. These eagles end up going somewhere else. If you decided to make an ordinance, how would it affect all of these people, or is it being targeted just to a specific group of people just like us? I mean, it just takes a couple people, and like I said, if Mayor Williams decided that he didn't like the concession stands, would it just take a couple people to say, you know what, let's ban the concession stands? I've contacted the ladies at the Raptor Center to help us educate tourists. We have yet set up a time to meet. I know of a couple people on the City Council that may have a direct conflict and should probably not vote. I advise you guys all to please vote no against an ordinance because of the ripple-down effect that it's going to cause. And I'm sure all of you guys or your children have thrown a fry, a herring, or something in regards to the eagles. And ironically, what happened last time is some gentleman came into the Visitors Bureau, and here is a picture. Here, you guys, everybody go, of the bear. He has a hummingbird feeder, and now the hummingbird feeder, the bear decides to attack that. So is that next? I mean, ordinances are laws, and I think everybody has the right to speak their mind, and I would vote no on an ordinance because we are not hurting anybody, and we've done our due diligence, and we've looked into all of this, you know. And again, when it comes to an ordinance, I have looked on the website, and I don't know where on the city council or on the city, where can I look up ordinances? Because some people don't know what an ordinance is. It's a law. Now, are these criminal, or are these just, you know, what would it be?
Katie can tell you where to find it.
Go ahead.
Ordinances typically will change the Ketchikan Municipal Code,
Okay.
so that's where you would find it, is under the Ketchikan Municipal Code link on the website,
Okay.
and that's what it creates or changes a law, and that's where all the laws are listed.
So how often does the city council go through all the ordinances? Is a book this thick or this thick, or?
Well, it's electronically, thank heavens.
Oh, yeah, thank God. But I mean, every morning when I wake up, if I drive down the road, I mean, or if I throw that French fry to that raven and I'm the small child or my child does, he's breaking the law. He's littering. You know, he's subject to a $300 fine.
Well, you can do a word search for any word that you want, like litter, and it'll pop up all the instances of litter in the code.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, kids are kids and people are people, and, you know, I support our town and I support our people, and I just think that this is ludicrous. And, you know, whatever, it's the ripple down effect. Like I showed you the bear that's now got hummingbird. You know, are you going to ban the hummingbird feeder because the guy decides to hang hummingbirds? You know, there is a reason we have hummingbirds, is for nectar and for flowers. But any questions? And
Any
I think
questions
those,
from Martha?
you guys are all invited to our property. You know, this is not directed, hopefully not directed towards us, but it will affect all of, all of you and all your grandkids. Okay,
Thank you very much, Martha.
thank you. I appreciate it.
That's the last person listed for wanting to talk to us that wrote it down. Is there anybody else who wants to talk to us that did not sign up today? Come on up. Look, hold on, just let's start with Norm. We'll do you next. Thank you.
I don't know what happened, but I did sign up.
Oh, sorry, Norm.
But,
Oh, yeah, I marked you off.
I thought you went. I thought you were going from the bottom up.
No, sorry about that. Go ahead.
But good evening, Honorable Mayor, Honorable Vice Mayor, City Council and staff, and members of the public. I read through your agenda, and I was glad that gentleman that came up here with that list of the toxins that are in our drinking water. I don't want to address that. I want to address the cruise ships that have been dumping on all three berths. I see it with my own eyes. As a matter of fact, I had a friend of mine come down here and take videos of the ships dumping their bilge waste right here on shore. And we have the Emerald Princess every Monday or Tuesday, whenever they come into port. They come in from the north when they're headed south, or coming in from the north when they're supposed to be heading north, but they come in and their bows facing towards the south. And I had a good friend of mine that I said, why would a cruise ship that size go around the backside of Gravina on the west side and come in from the north when they're supposed to be heading north? And his comment, and he doesn't even work in the tourism business, he's a fisherman. He said because they dump their gray water and empty out probably their sewage system. So I told him, I said, I make a recommendation. You will notify the state, notify the local Coast Guard, and have them bring these ships into port to see how much they're dumping out there in our waters. You heard the young lady that got up and spoke about the algae that's in the water. And notice how green that water is this year? I mean, because of the warm weather, yeah. But there's other things that are affecting that. And that's a big concern, because this is the time of the year that our fish are coming in to spawn, but the water is so darn warm that they stay way down low and nobody's catching anything, and the salmon aren't going up the river to spawn. So that's a big concern. We've already done away with our king salmon derby fishery because there was no king salmon. And come time when they open up the coho season, there's going to be little coho out there, very little, because of the shortage of rainwater. 3 weeks of beautiful weather has caused those salmon to stay out in the saltwater ocean, and they sometimes don't even make it back in. They end up dying out there. But that's a big concern, and I think this city council better start opening eyes and get that EPA, so-called EPA guy that's supposed to be monitoring concerns out there and having patrol these docks and start finding the cruise ships heavy. Because, like I said, I saw the pictures that my friend took of that, and it's on video, and you can actually see all the black oil up on top of the water, right down there by Berth 4, where the raceway is down there. And that's a big concern. You know, when I worked on the port, I always heard complaints about the ship saying, oh, there's an oil sheen. That's not from us. Where's it coming from? Well, it comes from the packers that come into town and dump all night long right out there on the inside of Berth 1 by Salmon Landing Mall. So I think we better start opening our eyes and start looking at them. Sure, they're bringing people here. I don't know what this city's afraid of. Are they going to leave? No, they're not going to leave. Those people are going to continue to come here. That's where they make their money. And you heard the different people talk about the eagle situation. 2 days after the meeting that they had about whether to get an ordinance in place to stop the feeding of eagles, I read the article this morning with great interest, and the word that was used was litter. I had to laugh. I said, go on the north side of Mr. Thomas's property where he has his property line boarded off with a wooden fence, and you'll see litter. I mean, there's guys, and 2 days after we had that special meeting here about the so-called feeding of eagles and putting an ordinance in place to stop that, I observed one of our Ketchikan's finest grab a beer from some of the locals that sit down there during the summer months and drinking beer. And they also buy food from the Safeway. They have these containers. Go down and look, you'll see those containers laying on the rocks out there. And that's your property, so you say. And Mr. Thomas, who has been very diligent on doing his homework and making sure, I mean, he went out on a limb. When you invest your life on a limb, and he's got over $1 million invested, he doesn't own it until the bank does. And so with the tours that he's promoted off of that thought, trying to make things change and make things different for the visitor to come, because a lot of people don't see eagles. They've never seen an eagle in their life. Maybe on TV, but not close like we bring them. And like Rick said, instead of 10 or 15 herring, we break them in half. You only throw 4 now. And for the past 2 weeks, there was one eagle this morning. And 2 days ago, there was a juvenile eagle. But when we threw the herring out, they didn't go for it because, why, I don't know. But now they've all gone elsewhere, out where the fresh water streams are, where there's supposed to be salmon. But this morning, there wasn't one eagle out there at Herring Cove. They moved elsewhere. And I think they went over to Prince of Wales because that's where the fish are. With that said, thank you for your time.
Thanks, Norm. Okay, in the back.
Good evening, council members. My name is Lisbeth Sieber, and I live at Cedar Point condos. I'm concerned about my safety. We have already float planes coming so close by the building, and now with the amount of eagles coming in the area, it is more of a danger zone than it used to be. Also, Mr. Thomas said that he did all the research on feeding the eagles. Did he also research on the impact it will be on the surrounding areas, the buildings, the residents who live there? Last month I had my windows open and I had to go to work. I came back and in the bedroom there was feces all over the place, the curtains, the carpet, the shades. it was not a nice sight to come home. So do we have to live like this from now on to protect ourselves for this? He was talking about his investment. What about our investment? We've been living here for 10 years. There has never been an issue. There were always eagles. He had these beautiful trees on his property. He cut them all down. It was a natural resting area for eagles. So if he left those trees there, he would never have to feed those eagles. So for me, seeing this, it's a sad situation for all of us. I will protect the city and the residents with an ordinance. If there would be an ordinance, we would not have to deal and come back with this. Feeding of the wildlife is a selfish act that can lead to much bigger problems. It is not a matter of right or wrong. It is the wrong thing to feed the wildlife. And I'm very emotional about this because I've been here 21 years, 25 years. Never saw this before. And now, what is the city? Are they going to protect themselves? This is just one operation. What if another operation starts next year and there's no control? So it's becoming a big problem then for the city. And how are we going to deal with that then? So please consider this very seriously. Thank you very much.
Can I get your name again? I couldn't hear.
Lisbeth Seberg.
Seberg?
Yes, Seberg. Seaberg.
Thank you very much. Anybody else that didn't sign up would like to address the council? Come on up.
Good evening. Robert Christopher. Growing up here, I've been here for 50 years almost. I've seen a lot of changes in our town, and I'm not going to talk about the feeding of the eagles right now, but I am going to talk about how our town's changed. And one of those things is we have built out into the water, especially down there by Safeway, down by the shipyards, to the point where it has actually changed the currents in the make the currents stronger out in the channel and things like that. We've also pushed out into the channel to the point where when the eagles are looking for food, they're on the shorelines. They're looking at the shoreline. They want to be high up above there so they can see the fish in the water. I've seen them pull king salmon out of the water. I've actually seen a eagle grab a king salmon and not come back up. But when you talk about flight patterns and bird strikes, whether it's an eagle or a pigeon or whatever it is, that's going to happen if it does. And I don't know if there's been a case where we've had a major bird strike here. I know that it happens, but even if a few herring aren't being thrown, you still have Phillips Cold Storage, and they're right down, they're on the water, and all the other canneries, and all the fishing boats. And if you're going to talk about bird strikes, that's what's going to bring in a bird strike. The fishing boats out there in the water, the birds follow them. When I was gill netting, I used to have seagulls follow me all over the place. And that's pretty much it. Doesn't matter if one person throws a herring to an eagle. It's our lives here. It's the way we grew up. It's the way I grew up. I see it all the time. Doesn't matter if people are feeding them or not. They're going to be drawn to the fishing boats. They're going to be out in the channel, and there's a chance a plane could hit them. Are we going to tell the guys in the boats that they can't use the channel no more because the eagles are out there? I implore you. This is a pointless endeavor. They're going to be here. They're always going to be here. And I wish that this wasn't the case. I wish we weren't down here having this conversation tonight. So, please make the right choice. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. Did I see somebody else wanting to talk? Come on up.
Hello, my name is Laura. I am from Saxman. I'm
What's your last name?
full-blooded.
Last name, please. Last name, please.
Beck.
Thank you.
I'm going to tell you what I'm hearing right here. I have seen so many people come to every chair right here. And what you guys are doing, the ordinance and stuff, he has a tourism that he is doing. This is just feeding the eagles. We raise a totem pole. Okay. And you know me. You guys need to stop what you are trying to control. Because have you read Eagle Boy? Totem Pole? Have you done it? Each one of you, I'm asking you, go and get it. Go and get it. Because, you know why? That boy stayed behind to feed that eagle. He stood behind by himself when everybody else left. And he stood behind and fed that eagle. It's no different. No different. I go back 1786. This is my history. I'm telling you the truth. I'm full-blooded. And you know who I am. And you shouldn't hurt somebody like this. His company. No, I'm standing with him. I am standing with him. You know why? Because this is in my heart. Because, Eagle Boy, go out and read that story. Please. It's no different than what they're doing just a herring. Yeah, it's tourism, yes, but I don't understand why you guys are trying to change everything. It's nothing. It's nothing. It really isn't. Look at it. I promise you, it's nothing. Don't try to shut down something that has been there for years. For years. I'm not kidding you. I'm a full-blooded pumpkin. Shawagatka is my Indian name. I'm going to tell you. I go back, and that totem pole, we sell it throughout the stores. He is not doing anything wrong. He's not. He is not. I had this. Laura Becker is my name.
Thank you very much. Anybody else want to address the council tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda. All right, that brings us down to consent agenda. I had a couple ideas for adding 7A 1 and 2, port, travel, and training, and community priority list, and B1, the change order 1 on the Beaver Falls. Does anybody have any problems with those? If not, if I can have a...
I move to consent.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Madam Clerk, can you read the items? Dick. I said 7A2, yeah. Do you want to talk about that one?
Yeah.
Okay, cancel 2.
Approval of minutes, regular meeting of July 19th and special meeting of July 25th, 2018. Social media policy for all city and Ketchikan public utilities social media sites. Budget transfers, assistant city manager / assistant general manager moving expenses. Exempting the procurement of replacement paddle mixer from competitive bidding and written quotation requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code. That's with Marion Process Solutions. Exempting the procurement of advanced metering infrastructure from competitive bidding and written quotation requirements of the Ketchikan Municipal Code, Cooper Power Systems. A budget transfer for Port Department travel and training request. And change order number 1 final to contract number 1815, Beaver Falls Generator Unit number 4 rotor and stator rewind with Delta Electric Motors Incorporated.
Anybody have any questions on it? Being none, call the roll.
Flora?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Severson?
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. That brings us down to unfinished business. That's 6A. 1, request for direction on drafting ordinance prohibiting feeding of eagles within the city limits. Does anybody have some direction?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I think that we should move ahead with the ordinance. I think that although I appreciate that it's a small business, I do believe that it's a nuisance. I also should point out, though, I don't think I have a conflict. I was worried that I might have a conflict, but I don't.
Very good. Anybody else? Go forward or?
Is that a motion or was that a?
I would move that we move forward with the motion, with an ordinance, sorry.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Anybody else?
Well, some of the comments tonight do create some questions, some things I hadn't thought of. I'd have to say it has risen to the level of a problem where it wouldn't have been brought to us, so I'm not really buying that so much. I had a call into Mr. Robertus at Pac Air, and he wasn't able to return it. Because I wanted to get some more input from him. I didn't have a chance to call any other air taxi operators. These folks do bring up some good points. There are other venues, other opportunities for birds to be attracted to near the shore that could also create the same kind of issue. However, I don't think the fish canneries are feeding the eagles for profit, nor do I think that a kid throwing a French fry to a raven is doing it to make money. I understand the need to protect their own self-interest in their business. I actually respect that a lot. I'm not sure if it's time to move ahead on this or if we need to get a little more data to see how much of an impact this is, not only to public safety in regards to the air taxis, but also other residents like the folks at the point.
Bob?
I'm not going to support a motion at this time. I think the unintended consequences are unknown. And I've lived in Ketchikan all my life. Birds in the water have been a part of Ketchikan forever, regardless of what attracts them there. I also ran the landfill at that facility. You're in proximity of an airport. You have regulations that you have to abide by. So I think that this is, as a lot of things will be, is a dispute between two neighbors. And of course, there's always a legal action if one neighbor is damaging the property of another's. I mean, and I don't think that's necessarily something that has to be addressed in the form of an ordinance, all-encompassing. I think there's other avenues that the parties could go with. But I just don't know what the full ramifications on them. I mean, we have other places that are maybe not feeding them for a profit, but they are adding to the attraction of birds, no matter how you do it. So I would be concerned to pass something like this, not knowing the full context.
Yeah, so does the ordinance, would it ban some of the
who
things,
knows?
some of the concerns that these folks have? Yeah.
Go ahead, Julie, and then Jen Lee.
I don't know. Waiting at Dave.
Dave's been waiting.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, small sample size theater. I've been down at Mr. Thomas's property a couple times now in the last, actually, when this first came up. Twice I have seen 2 float planes have to take not evasive action, but change their paths going in. Now, has that never happened anywhere else? Of course it's happened other places. The question is, do we want to encourage the potential for it to get worse in any situation? And I guess I'm left with a couple of thoughts here on this one. One is, just because something's not against the law doesn't always mean it's right. And I think we were probably all of us surprised that there wasn't a rule against feeding eagles. I guess we all assumed there was. And do eagles get fed? Absolutely. I've lived here longer than pretty much everyone who talked up here, and I've seen people feed eagles since I was a little kid. What I wonder, though, is, okay, say we don't take any action now, say we just let this go. Just been my observation in the local visitor industry that, well, guess what? Maybe next year there'll be 3 or 4, or 5 or 6, or 7 or 8 tours feeding eagles. There's an unintended consequence. We do nothing. So I don't know. I don't know that an ordinance is the right way to go, because I don't want it to be this huge hammer for a problem that may not be a problem. But I can also see how it could become a problem, a very serious problem. If we suddenly have every tour setting up feeding eagles, it's not that far to go back to the good old days where we had people putting out stuff for bears and other things like that. Even though we all agree that's illegal, will it happen? Sure. I don't know. And so I guess I'm torn between thinking that if we just say this isn't a problem, it's just a couple of neighborhood things, it's not going to be a big deal. Then it becomes a big deal next year or the year after. Then what do we say?
Julie?
I'm not going to support creating an ordinance at this time either. I would have to see it and probably not support it. I can't imagine how it would be written that I would support it. When Mark brings up the point that there's a difference between feeding the eagles for profit and just giving them a fry, a child giving, I don't think there's a difference. I don't see the difference. And whether or not it becomes a problem next year, maybe 10 tour companies show up that are feeding the eagles. I don't see it as a problem right now that we need to act on creating an ordinance. Maybe it's an ethical issue. I see it as a neighbor dispute, but I don't see it as, I'm all for less laws, not more laws, and I don't see it as something we need to create an ordinance for.
Jenny?
I have to admit I'm torn because I get Thomas's what he's trying to do. I get that, but I have a problem with feeding wild animals because, as we've all known over the years, growing up here, we did it with the bears, and then all of a sudden we weren't feeding them, and we had to straighten that out, and it took years. And we still have bears. I have a mama bear and 3 cubs living on my empty lot eating berries here and there. But I'm not feeding them trash. But I get the neighbor thing, but I also see a bigger issue, a moral issue, which is when you feed wild animals, they become dependent. And when they become dependent on a food source, they also can become quite a nuisance. Yes, they go elsewhere, but they go out to Herring Cove, and I've seen them out there, and they're also being fed out there. So I'm assuming they're being fed out there because everyone's fishing out there, and so they leave their guts. But I also see the conundrum of creating an ordinance where you have a kid throwing a fry. But I also don't see that. But I see Dave's point is one tour company is doing it and then 10 are doing it. And I live on 3rd Avenue, and just in the beginning of summer, I noticed a huge difference in the population
of the eagles on the top of my house. And my grandmother lived in that house for 70 years, 80 years almost, and I never seen eagles like that, and I'm 52. And they were, even my pets didn't want to go outside. So I don't know what to think about I noticed a big, huge difference in the pattern, the flight pattern of the eagles, even though they do hang out in the area.
Anybody else? Judy?
So if somebody doesn't want to pay for a tour and they just go by Herring at Safeway and feed an eagle and get hurt, who's responsible for that? I mean, I'm just,
And that's happening.
The only thing I have on is it's a bad location, and I'm sorry that they invested so much money into that spot. But I understand that they went through the process and found there was no laws against it. But boy, is it I think a bad location. And my concern is again property damage. I understand that. On the history of my ravens, those guys drop little balls of acid on shingles. So I put up a metal roof last year, and they don't sit on metal roofs, if you want to know. And but it is to me, if you want to do something on their property, I just worry about how big this is going to get. It's going to. I don't think. I mean, we cannot do anything right now, and I don't know what the great solution is. But I think this is going to continue because this isn't going. If the Thomases are doing great success with this idea, which is a great idea, it's going to be copied. And where is the next one going to come up at? So we're going to be dealing with this. Well, you guys will be dealing with it in 4 meetings. I won't.
Don't
But it's going to be something that's going to be. It's not just going to go away. So I do worry about the, that draws birds into that area, and it's going to affect the people around that area. So I wish I had more 2 bits to add.
Just one more comment. I agree with you, Julie. Generally speaking, less laws better than more laws. I respectfully disagree with the difference between doing it for profit and doing it as a sidebar or an ancillary activity to something else. Given this conversation, maybe what we need actually is some more data. Maybe we should talk to all the air taxi services. Maybe we should ask them, is there a difference between what these folks are doing and what the fish canneries have been doing for all the years they've existed? And see if we can get enough information to come to a rational decision, balancing the interests of public safety versus these folks' right to have a reasonable opportunity to make a living, but not at the expense of others. I just don't think I have enough information I can't support it right now, but I'm not saying I couldn't in the future if given a data set that would move me that way.
Dick and then Bob.
I guess I've been taught all my life you don't feed a wildlife. And I've worked in the woods all my life, and you don't feed the wildlife. So I'm kind of torn. I also don't like regulations. I don't like ordinances. But this has the potential for building up. I think, like Dave said, one here, one there, and another one, and pretty soon you do have a big deal. So I guess without getting into a whole lot more detail, I think we need to go ahead and get an ordinance that we can look at, modified. It's going to take a month. It's not going to happen. Not going to affect anybody this year. But at least ways we're ahead of the game if we think it needs to be done. Because we wait till next year and it happens again, it's too late. Or we let the business get into the business and got people advertised for next summer, and we cut it off. It's not good for them. We're treating them wrong. So I think we need to look at it right now. We may not do anything with it, but we're going to be ahead of the game and anticipating it if we need to. So I'm going to support getting one that we look at. with next week, the next 2 weeks, somewhere or other, because I don't know whether we're going to like what it says, and we need to tweak it.
Bob?
Yeah, and there's other agencies, I think, involved in this. I don't know where the state and federal agencies are. I don't think it's the city of Ketchikan to control the wildlife. It's the state of Alaska. And so maybe we should reach out to them and see what they can do on their end, if there's actually something to do. And there may be another option, too, where we put, some limits on building code within the city or something, if we're going to do something like that, let them know up front rather than after the fact kind of a thing. And there may be, as I think the Raptor person said, an appropriate place to do this. And if you put a blanket regulation in, that will never happen either.
All right, so we do have a motion on the floor to come up with an ordinance. Let's vote on that and see where we're at. Call the roll.
Severson?
No.
Gage?
Yes.
Isom?
No.
Zingy?
Yes.
Kiefer?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Flora?
No.
Okay, that passes 4-3. We'll look at an ordinance. Carl, when you guys are going through this ordinance, can you reach out to these other agencies and get us more information and try to educate us a little more?
We can, Mr. Mayor, based on our discussions to date. It's my understanding that there's no federal or state statute that would inhibit the feeding of eagles unless in doing the act the eagle is harmed. If somehow the eagle is adversely affected, federal oversight at that point can kick in, but we'll make further inquiries.
Thank you. All right, that brings us down to 6A2, request for funding designation for the Ketchikan Driving Awareness Campaign. Judy?
Well, I see the motion here. I move the City Council direct staff to take such actions to fund the Ketchikan Driving Awareness Campaign as determined appropriate by the City Council. I see that Kim has submitted a reduced campaign of $16,100. I appreciate what Chief White and the department is working on. However, I'd like us to go ahead and approve the $16,000. And I say that because this is for driver awareness, right? We just spent, I don't know how much money on the campaign that the police department did, their lip sync campaign. I mean, we used all the officers for that. We used KPU people. I support that, but I mean, $16,000 to me is a small amount to put towards driving awareness, and I'd like to see us approve that. So I'm going to make a motion that we amend the motion. Is that what you do?
No, I think you just make
Well, nobody's seconded.
Determined.
We need a motion. Make the motion.
Okay. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the $16,100 for the campaign, driver awareness campaign, as put forth by Ms. Simpson.
Second.
Moved in second. Anybody else? Lee.
I agree. I think that any kind of prevention program, when you are making a norm and advertising, you're going to get people starting to pay attention to their practice of driving and looking at what they're doing.
Dick and then Judy.
Yeah, I agree we need to do something, but I've got a question probably for Chief White. What does the state regulations or law say right now about texting and driving and talking on your cell phone and driving? Because we're crazy in this town. Everybody's got it right here, and they're driving with one hand.
And looking down.
And looking down.
The way the state law reads is you cannot text and drive. You can call, dial phone numbers and drive. You can play music and drive. You can use it as a navigational device. It's strictly for texting. So for us to actually issue tickets on this, we have to be able to say that you were texting while you were driving, not punching in a phone number. And so it's a really difficult one to enforce. I've heard other jurisdictions where they have an officer sitting at an intersection and they're sitting there watching people, and when they actually see them texting, then they'll call another officer down the road and they can pull them over and stuff. It's very labor intensive.
Yeah.
We can go that route. Hopefully more when we're fully staffed.
Yeah, I realize that we don't have the people that chase it, but yeah.
But I'm sorry, but I'm wondering if just doing that once or twice might get someone's attention. Because right now you can, as you know, you can sit at that corner and you can watch nine cars in a row go by, and maybe unless you selective enforcement, there's an occasional thing like that might indeed get. Because right now people assuming that they're doing it with impunity. And eventually you are going to have people running into other people, and you're going to have serious accidents, and we're all going to be sitting there going, well, we should have done something.
No, I agree. And we do targeted enforcement for stop signs. We do targeted enforcement for speed zones. And that usually can be done by one person in one car. Again, right now we're so critically low on staffing. I'm working patrol, the deputy chief's working patrol, investigations are working patrol because we don't have patrol. So we're really struggling. But we do want to try to do the best we can.
Judy.
Yeah, and I'm not even suggesting that. I just look at the lip sync campaign that was going around the country, and that was picked up by so many people. And you had so many people talking about that it, that moved forward. There was over 400,000 people looked at the video that y'all put out.
Yeah,
so, to me, KPU, obviously, they've shown that they do an excellent job at marketing that kind of stuff. So I think that for $16,000, that's well spent. And I know the next thing Carl's going to say is, where are we going to get the money?
I was just going to clarify, Mr. Mayor, if the motion passes, my intent would be to approve a budget transfer from appropriated reserves of the general fund to the council's community promotion account.
Sounds good. Mark?
Why wouldn't we wait to see what happens with the grant application?
The grant application is a work in progress.
Right.
I can tell you this is a fairly new endeavor for me and my staff to do some grant writing, and we're working really hard on it. Hopefully we could submit it within a couple weeks. Funding, I would think maybe September-ish. So, the grant that I was working on, it does address the immediate media campaign, but I was also trying to do some more long-term stuff with some driver simulation units. We were asking for some overtime budget so that we could do some more targeted enforcement of the texting and driving, do high school. So it's more of a long-term plan is what I was hoping to do with this. I was looking for some safety education for maybe 5 years, 10 years from now, where people have now learned better growing up, hitting 16-year-olds in high school about this kind of stuff. So trying to change maybe the culture a little bit. But the immediate thing would be the media campaign, which honestly, with the grant that we're working, it could be a little bit of time before we get that through.
Thank you. That still seems like a better investment for us. One of the concerns I had last time, regardless of the dollar value, $64,000 or $16,000, and I can't answer this question. I don't know if anybody else can. So how do we quantify the results? We spend $16,000 and we get public awareness, and then Judy.
How did we did the lip sync contest? It says every cop participated in that. That comes at a cost. What do we get from that? I'm just saying that we'll put money out for that, but something that we're going to push towards safety, we don't want to spend $16,000, which is what percentage of our budget? I just think that we can do something now. It's $16,000, and then I think that Joe doing what he's going to put forward is going to then help us add more people, help overtime. It's just my thought.
Janet Lee, then Julie.
To answer your question, Mark, most campaigns, when it comes to prevention, when you're putting that out there and people are seeing it, be it a video on social media, etc., it changes their normal perception of whether it's okay for them to text, even a quick text. And when kids see it, it changes their perspective. So if their parents are doing it, so if their norm is that their parents text while they drive, they're going to they're going to follow in those footsteps. But if you have a campaign that's educating people to the dangers of that, like when I was living in Kenai, we had a 17-year-old who is now spending 25 years in prison because he was texting and driving. He hit an older couple and killed them. But you can't do a scare tactic type of campaign because that doesn't. But when you do a positive campaign, you actually will. You'll see the positive change.
Wouldn't it be safe to say it's fairly common knowledge that we shouldn't text and drive right now? Right now, prior to the campaign, is anybody not aware of that?
Yeah.
Must be. I see it all day.
Hold on.
Right. And yet you say it.
Janelle, do you have anything else? Julie?
I wouldn't support it right now. I think we should wait. I don't see it as time sensitive. I like the idea of the campaign, but I'm not going to support throwing $16,000 to this when we can wait to see the grant outcome.
Dave, then Bob.
I must have misread the memo here. Clearly, I didn't think it was an either or thing. Did I miss something here? I mean, if we spend $16,000 now, you can't apply for the grant. Is that what I'm hearing?
No, sir. I'm still
okay.
going to apply
Well,
for a grant.
then what's the issue? How can you sit here and say let's just wait and wait till the grant? Once again, we're talking $16,000. That's a lot of money. That for me personally, that's a lot of money. That said, though, if there's a chance it would help, I'm not sure the grant that they're going to go. We're going to be able to quantify that either. These things are almost impossible to quantify. Even though I've been on a million committees and said, "Well, tell me what did we get for that grant money?" And it's like, who knows?
Well, if the chief can actually do some targeted pulling people over for that sort of thing, that's gonna make a change.
Bob, go.
Sorry.
I agree, but I'm not sure why we're treating these like two separate things.
Okay, Bob.
I'm going to support it. I think prevention is a good thing, and there's a lot of young minds out there that, I mean, if you only change 1 or 2 of them, and you actually avoid one accident with fatality, it's worth every bit of money you spend on it. The reality of it is it's more than just your cell phone. It's eating, it's drinking, so anything that distracts you while you're driving, especially in downtown Ketchikan when it's just a zoo. The state of Washington went to hands-free. You can't do anything in your car except drive. I mean, if you had the newest technology where you could talk to your phone and make calls, you can do all that kind of stuff. It's hands-free. You cannot occupy your hands with something else while you're driving.
My only comment is I think this will complement the effectiveness of the next one. So I think they stack against each other.
Well, let's vote and see where we're at with this. Give me a roll call.
Zinni?
Yes.
Isom?
No.
Gage?
Yes.
Sievertson?
Yes.
Flora?
No.
Coos?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Okay, that passes 5-2. That brings us over to new business 7A2, 2020 community priority list. Go ahead.
I move the City Council approve the City of Ketchikan priorities for inclusion in the 2020 community priority list as detailed in the Assistant City Manager's report dated July 26, 2018, and or as modified by the City Council.
Second.
Moved in second. Julie?
I didn't have any modifications. I just wondered why Saxman wasn't included.
This is all being done individually by the 3 municipalities. So we were asked to do the city and KPUs. The borough will do theirs, and Saxman will do theirs.
And yeah.
And then
okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Call the roll.
Sievertson?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Zinni?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
That passes 7-0. That brings us 7A3, Resolution 18-2706, opposing and proposed 14th Section Salmon Ballot Initiative, which would amend, repeal, and reenact provisions of Alaska AS 16.05 regarding fish habitat development and human activity. Bob?
Your Honor, I move the City Council approve resolution number 18-2706 opposing the proposed 14th Section Salmon Ballot Initiative 17FSH2, which amend, repeal, and reenact provisions of AS 16.05 regarding fish habitat development and human activities and establish an effective date.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Bob?
Yeah, I think if you read some of this, you'll see that the main driver on this was opposition to Pebble Mine, but the ramifications for municipalities in regards to doing normal operations, sewer, water, drainage, is going to be overwhelming. And I think that the added extra permitting for stuff that we're already looking at is unrealistic. So I just think that there's too many variables in this that are going to damage future development or management of the community's resources.
Dick and then Dave.
Yeah, just a quick question on the second whereas. Is our intent to refer to Southeast Conference? Or is it our position?
It just says that they're supporting it.
It was
they're
a
putting it on.
recognition
Okay.
that there was other agencies.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. Usually we stick with our name, so fine.
Dave?
I totally agree with Bob's statement that the Stand for Salmon initiative goes too far. But I just wanted to make it really, really, really clear that Pebble Mine remains a bad location at a bad time for absolutely no reason. So I don't want anyone thinking that I'm supporting Pebble.
I get
Get over on that. I'm not a supporter.
All right. Call the roll.
Kiefer,
Yes.
Ziggy. Yes. Coos,
Yes.
Flora,
Yes.
Isom,
Yes.
Gage,
Right.
Stevenson.
Yeah.
Okay, that passes 7-0. Brings us down to 784. Authorize the city manager to solicit a proposal from Ralph Anderson Associates to undertake a comprehensive market review of the City of Ketchikan General Government KPU Comprehensive Compensation Plan. Excuse me. Do we have a motion?
I move the city council authorize the city manager to solicit a proposal for Ralph Anderson Associates to undertake a compensation market review for the city of Ketchikan General Government KPU Compensation Plan. Said proposal to be submitted to the city council for formal consideration and approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Bob?
I think this is very necessary. We're having a harder and harder time attracting and retaining personnel citywide, community-wide, statewide. I mean, it doesn't stop with just, I mean, it's not just us. And things have changed. The community at one time had some very active industries with the pulp mill going, logging camps going, a lot of mechanics and electricians working on things like that. And we don't have that resource to draw from, particularly for the utilities, for the mechanics and that kind of thing. And so where we used to compete against LP fish processors, Alaska Pulp up north, different things like that, now we are competing nationally. I think that other communities are doing the same thing. There's not people revolving in our general area, if not just in Alaska. We're looking for professionals and trades outside the state, and I believe that we're probably below market value compared to what I see other places asking. So I think this is the first step to really know where we're at. I don't know how we're going to get about catching up, but if you don't have a starting point, if you don't know how big the gap is, it's going to be very difficult.
Anybody else? Kelly?
I agree, and actually, this is a trend that I think is even in some of the businesses in town, because they're finding that they can't keep people either. And I don't know what the answer is, and I know that we don't have a lot to draw from, but maybe it's time we revisit what our cap is on sales tax. And I know that's nobody wants to hear that, but you know, it's only been how many years since we've been doing the same sales tax cap. And I've heard some people actually say, why don't we, change that? Because we can't just keep paying people low and then expect them to stick around when you can barely afford rent. And we're raising utilities. And who's the ones that suffer for that when we have jewelry stores that sell $5,000 ring and have a cap on sales tax? I mean, hey, can we put it on anything? Just saying.
Anybody else? Call the roll.
Severson,
Yes.
Gage, Yes. Isom?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Pfeiffer?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Flora?
Yes.
All right, that passes 7-0. That brings us down to vouchers. Daily News, $4,535.35.
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
I move for approval of vouchers to the Ketchikan Daily News in the amount of $4,535.35.
Second.
Moved in second. Call the roll, please.
You're moving 2 points for me.
No, it's all right. We still got 2 executive sessions.
I know, right? Flora?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Pfeiffer? Zingy?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Gage?
Yes.
Severson?
Yeah.
I was hoping we'd forget about those.
The next thing I move to just say, to not do this.
The motion passed. That brings us down to manager's report. Carl?
Just a few, Mr. Mayor. Several meetings ago, the council approved a budget transfer to bring up ECG to have a meeting with them relative to negotiations with Peace Health over a new lease for the medical center. We're now looking at either September 13th or the 27th off meeting night. If the council has any preference, we'd like to try to get that blocked in so we can get them up here and we can start that process.
Can you repeat? You want us to meet with them, did you say?
Yeah, that was the intent. September 13th or the 27th, both are Thursdays.
13th is Southeast Conference night in town.
Okay, and the
You should
27th.
probably avoid it.
The hospital. Okay. So that's the 13th or 27th
Looks like the 20th
of August?
September.
Let me flip it over. Okay. What's the best date? One for, let's see.
If Southeast Conference is.
Let's go to the 27th then.
That's what we'll do.
Thursday. They've done Thursday mornings the last.
I know, we can. Where's it at this year?
Here.
Oh, nice and easy.
It's handy.
You guys want it 13th? I mean, here, 13th or 27th? What do you guys want to do?
13th, not the 13th.
They're done by noon. They're always done
That's
by
on
Thursday.
Thursday. That's Thursday. It's on a Friday. They're done.
Oh, so it's later.
It's the 12th, 13th.
Okay, well, let's make it the 27th, Carl.
Okay. There were a couple of memoranda in the packet about what we've learned about cruise ship discharges that well, were
Thank you for that.
referenced tonight, and we'll keep monitoring and reporting discharges that we feel are not compliant, and we'll keep the council informed. I want to let the council know relative to Berth 3, it now appears that we have a much bigger problem, that we're having coating failure not only on the surface of the barge but on the sides. We've informally notified both the shipyard and the manufacturer. We're in the process now of doing formal notifications and trying to sort through that, and we will keep the council advised. If you notice tonight that the packet, the majority of the packet was put together by the assistant city manager in just a few weeks under her belt. I think she did a really good job and is well prepared to do that when I go on vacation tomorrow. I will see you all in a few weeks.
We get to call her now.
Hey, city clerk's file. Hold it, Bob, go ahead.
In regard to the cruise ship, Carl, is the scrubber the only thing that they're dumping? What at port or in port? Do we know for sure?
To the best of our knowledge, I can't say it absolutely certain, but everything that we've been able to find, talking not only to cruise line agencies but to DEC and the Coast Guard, right now it appears to be the scrubbers, and that is regulated by federal permits. But even if they're in compliance with the federal permit, depending on how the discharge comes out, if it's an oily substance, they could very well still be violating state law. The ocean rangers that are on the ships under state statute are being asked to look at this. DEC is gathering data, and they've asked us to keep reporting to them. So we've instructed our staff to be very diligent in seeing what's happening while they're at dock or at bird. So
Do we have a website to visit federally so that we can look at the regulations and get some idea what
I'll have
the particulate is?
I'll
Because
have to
if
get
you're,
back
if
to you.
we're leaving black stuff on the rocks after they do this, there's something wrong.
Black and white, little white things and stuff.
Yeah,
It's
I
just
don't know
really
what
white
it is.
stuff.
So I just want to know
Gray
a little more.
I'll
about
see what
it.
I can get to you, Council Members Severson.
Thank you.
Yeah, Dick?
Since that was commented on by one or more people here tonight, it seemed like there needs to be a way we can get that out to the public, whether the newspaper picks it up or whether we say something, because there's a whole lot of misinformation floating around, either ignorantly or deliberately.
Go register.
So we need to figure out a way to get it out to the public that we're concerned and that we're looking into it, and here's the rules that they're supposed to be living by, and the state and DC are looking at it too. So
I think we definitely can get the state contact numbers for people to call if they are seeing things and to report
Yeah.
to DEC and ask for their assistance in helping us, find out exactly what's going on. We can work up an ad and run that in the
That would
paper.
probably be the idea.
I'll get Leila to do something. Take care of it. That brings us to city clerk's file,
Nothing, Your Honor.
city attorney's file.
Nothing, Your Honor.
Future agenda items. You bet, Mark.
What's going on with the fire apparatus audit? Where are we at with that?
They will be here on the 16th. You'll have the report as part of the packet. And you'll have a very good cover memorandum from the fire chief as to how he sees integrating that report into the budget process for upcoming years.
Thank you. Mayor, council comments, Dick?
Yeah, just one additional one. I guess it's a little bit disappointing tonight that our one vendor who is here that depends upon the cruise line industry to bring in people wants to say they control us. Even though I work for one of the companies, when I sit at this council, I'm concerned about the city. I'm not concerned about those folks. And if they were to leave, which they're not going to, where would this company be? So it's just becoming a little bit disappointing that they want something, but yet they're ignoring who's bringing them to town. It's just, maybe I shouldn't say it, but that's the way I feel about it.
Julie? Oh, yeah. No, I said Judy. Sorry. Confused.
I want to congratulate the police department on their lip sync video challenge. That was excellent. I've heard a lot about it. You got a lot of hits on Facebook. It really energized the community in terms of dealing with the police department. I thought it was great. On a more concerning note, I don't know, a lot of you know I work with seniors quite a bit, and right now we're sending our seniors out of the community. The long-term care, they have beds, but there's nobody to fill them. We don't have room to put people. And I think that, it's becoming a situation. And I know, Bob, you're on the Commission for Aging, and I really think that, I'm going to start speaking more about this because it's people we know that are leaving, and it's just not okay. I understand from the hospital that there's a problem with, and I always screw this word up, reciprocity. So CNAs and nurses, and apparently there's an issue with that, and I'm going to make some calls tomorrow and maybe find out a little bit more about that. But they're having trouble filling those positions. So I just think that we need to pay more attention to this because, there's maybe 5-6 people now, but we have an aging population here. It's not getting any better.
Jenny?
I'll add to hers, maybe we need to look at our sales tax because the cost of living and is hiking up. We have seniors that are not able to live alone or are having to leave, or we're seeing more people generationally living together, and it's not going to get better. So we need to consider our community, and I don't think it's fair to have people have to move out because they can't afford to live here. I'm not going to be a snowbird.
Nothing.
Bob?
The senior issue has been progressing throughout the state of Alaska for a number of years due to either health social service budget cuts, changes in operations, eligibility requirements. But Judy's absolutely correct in the fact that it's a travesty that we have to send seniors that are born and raised here or moved here and lived most of their life here to another community, simple fact that we don't have something available for them here. The Pioneer Homes is limited what they can do. They have the same problem trying to attract registered nurses or CNAs. We have a training program for CNAs, but they don't stay. And so it becomes a harder and harder problem the deeper we get into this, and it's statewide. It's not just Ketchikan. And nobody's building new facilities. Nobody's adding beds. And we have a growing senior population. The baby boomers are going to start. They're here. I mean, they're starting. And with that, you get a certain percentage of Alzheimer's or other types of dementias and bariatric issues or a lot of things. And that just adds to the problem because those individuals take almost nursing home degree of care, and we don't have any of that in the community to speak of. So that's going to be an ongoing problem. I also agree with Dick in the fact that I've heard it a couple different times in the other venues that the cruise ships own Ketchikan. That's not the case. The city of Ketchikan works with the cruise industry to provide opportunities for local entrepreneurs to build a business, grow a life, pay for the kids to go to college, that kind of stuff. Those dollars go around. They may make a dollar down here in town selling cruise stuff, but those same guys are developing properties, building houses, and doing other things with that money too, what adds to our local economy. So I don't think that we need to be so short-sighted. It needs to be managed. We need to think about it. We need to plan for it, and we need to have the infrastructure to support it. But that doesn't mean it's a bad industry. That's all I have.
Dave?
First of all, congratulations to the son-in-law in chief for his movement up. Though I do want to say, I really, as much as I enjoyed the video, the lieutenant's glowering kind of scared me. He needs to work a little, and I realize he just finished. I realize he just finished another strenuous year having to figure out how to get my son to do what he wants on the baseball field, and that probably creates some sort of stress. But he needs to figure out some way to just lighten up a little bit. Okay.
The critique is on.
Yeah, well, that's his normal face. Yeah, I know with you. Anyway, okay. I guess I'm a little puzzled about the discharges, these cruise ship discharges. All we've heard for our whole existence here is how little time they actually spend in Ketchikan. I mean, compared to the 12 or 13 hours they spend in Juneau and Skagway and Point Icy Strait and wherever. Do they really? And plus, we know they do a lot of discharges when they're 3 miles offshore. I guess I wonder why, if during the 5 or 6 hours they're in Ketchikan,
they have.
Why do they need? Why? Just why? And I know that I know legally they're allowed to do it, and we don't have a whole lot of control over that. But it just seems kind of like their thumb on their noses at us.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'd probably feel the same if I was in Juneau or Skagway. I mean, they spend so much time transiting in Southeast Alaska. Why are they discharging anything in any harbor, no matter how well treated? I mean, am I wrong to think that? It just seems like.
Thanks, Dave.
Why do they have to make our lives so miserable?
Mark?
Well, for a body that seems to be beholden to the cruise ship industry, we sure are making some noise about some of the negative impacts. in a perfect world, I agree with Dave. It just seems logical that if possible, if it's mechanically possible or logistically possible, that these folks do all discharges 3 miles out. It just makes sense. We roll out the welcome mat. We invest a lot of money. We do a lot of hard work. Pooping in our port ain't cool. To the public's perception of how our relations with the cruise ship industry, in the almost 2 years I've sat on this body, I can honestly say I haven't met one person on this council who has not looked at the cruise ship industry and sincerely looked at that industry and how it can benefit as many people in Ketchikan as possible. Hopefully some of the activities we take over in the future will display that. Actions speak louder than words, and I don't think we need a public relations campaign. But interesting comments, and I think our activities may indicate a different.
Are you saying we don't need a lip sync video?
I do, because I can't sing. That'd be kind of fun. Thank you, Ron.
You bet. All right, I have a couple things. The discharge report, thanks, Carl, for having that. And people see them discharge that stuff and all concerned of what it is, and nobody knew, and I'm glad you got the information and get it out there. And PR-wise, I mean, why do it? Why you're sitting in a port? It's a good question to ask them. But, the industry is regular. I mean, they have the ocean rangers. The DEC gets called all the time. And so they're well regulated. And the new ships, they're doing they're investing tens of millions to handle this issue. So it isn't an issue. So all of us are working in the same direction. And I'm happy to say that'll make it better for all of us in industry here in Southeast Alaska. Keep everything from the old days when you drunk gray water, which I'm happy to say they're not. The other thing, that water quality report that Ed brought up, can you find out what that is? I know we're not trying to kill people, but if you could address that for us, let us know what he was directing us to. And are you okay over there?
No, I'm sorry. That was my fault, Ron. I apologize.
The other thing was the new lieutenant. I offered my services for the lip sync and my talents for the video. I flatly refused, and so I'm now in negotiations with another law enforcement agency within the community to utilize. I see it popping up soon. I'll be hopefully featured.
So you came to an agreement that you could get it behind?
This consolidation money.
We have 2 executive sessions. I can make the first one. I can't make the second one. So let's do the first one.
Motion?
Yeah, please.
Your Honor, I move the City Council declare that consistent with the City Manager's memorandum dated July 26, 2018, is in the best interest of the City Council to discuss the executive session, negotiation options and strategies related to the expansion of the City Port Facility to accommodate the post-Panamax cruise ship vessel and will be calling Ketchikan over the next several years in accordance with Ketchikan Municipal Code 2.04.025A1, which includes the need to discuss subjects the knowledge of which would clearly have an immediate impact on the finances of the city.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Call the roll.
Flora?
Yes.
Coos?
Yes.
Kuiper?
Yes.
Zingy?
Yes.
Isom?
Yes.
Gage? Severson?
Yes.
Yeah, it passes. So
Well, I'll do it 5 minutes.
okay, 5 minutes.
Sorry.
Just send me a thought.
We're back on.
We were back in session. We met in executive session and gave the manager direction.
That brings us to item B, Ketchikan Public Utilities request for an executive session, potential reopener or 3-year extension of the 2015-17 collective bargaining agreement between the city, Ketchikan DBA, Ketchikan Public Utilities, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, 1547. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor,
Go ahead.
it is recommended that the City Council adopt the motion declaring that consistent with the General Manager's memorandum dated July 26, 2018, it is in the best interest of the city to discuss negotiations regarding a reopening of the collective bargaining agreement between the City of Ketchikan, the DBA, Ketchikan Public Utilities, and the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, Local 1547, in executive session. In accordance with that finding, the City Council will go into executive session in accordance with KMC 204.025A1 and B2 and AS 44.62.310C1 and 3 to discuss said negotiations and the auxiliary items described in the General Manager's memorandum dated July 20th, 2018, which matters include the need to discuss subjects the knowledge of which would have an adverse impact upon the finances of the city and upon the city's ability to negotiate favorable labor settlements.
No, second.
Second.
Been moved and second. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Flora?
Yeah.
Coos?
10 till 10.
I'll take that as a yes. Kiefer? You're making it long.
Not much.
Zingy?
Yes.
Ison?
Yes.
Dave?
Take a bathroom break.
And Severson?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm making you all yeses.
We'll recess into executive session.
It's definitely past 10 minutes.
Try to steal my seat.
Okay, everybody's here. We'll have them back in. We met in the executive session. Manager has direction. We've already gone through all the comments. I think the only thing we have left is adjournment.
So moved.
Before you all go,